Hey everyone, this is Nick Lalonde, your host of What's Next, making your third act your best act. And today you're going to hear from Paul Hullar, who had an incredible run in the corporate world before being challenged in an all-executive meeting to think about building something of his own. Over the last decade, Paul has done just that, building an amazing company, having saved his clients over $350 million, and in the process being named Who's Who in Sustainability for 9 years in a row. His company, Brightwave Energy, impacts clients all across the world. But what stuck out to me about my conversation with Paul is that he's having more fun today than at any point in his career. His dad retired at 86 years old, is 87 today, and when I asked him, what do you think your dad's biological age is? He said it's likely early 60s. His dad has stayed young because he's found immense joy every day over the last 20 years in his work. I hope that you'll enjoy my conversation with Paul as much as I did. Paul, one of the things that stuck out to me when we had a chance to talk before our recording is you mentioned that your mantra in life and in business is believing there is more. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think both in my personal life as well as in business, I'm always looking for more. Not that I'm not satisfied with where we are, but I just believe there's always a better solution, a cheaper solution, a faster solution. You know, can we save another kilowatt of energy for the client? Can we reduce another ton of CO2? Can I delight my family more than I am today? Can I make that next vacation even better? It's not an indication of not being satisfied. It's just always believing that the years ahead are better than the years behind. And I believe that's possible just by interacting and learning from others and then reapplying what they know that I didn't last year.
You know, one of the things that stuck out to me about believing there is more is you also mentioned that you guys are tracking your metrics with the impact that you make with your clients. Would you mind sharing some of those metrics with me?
Sure. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that we measure, but the three big things that our clients typically look for are what percent reduction in their energy have we achieved for them? How many tons of CO2 have we removed or improved from a sustainability standpoint? And then how many dollars have we saved them? And so we call it our leaders meters. And so that we've actually got the three, they're digital little like speedometers, that we use internally on our dashboard. And I mean, it's really fun. We've saved $350 million so far for our clients. On average, we've reduced their energy bills by 28%. And we've reduced 1.45 million metric tons of CO2 for our clients.
Wow.
By finding greener solutions. So that's something that we can be proud of, It's more than, selling a widget, which I'm not saying is bad, but for me, there's it's a business I'm very proud of. I'm happy to tell people what we do because I think it's a real win when the clients save money and we help the environment and everybody, I pay myself well, but everybody, is happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. Now, you were a corporate veteran for over 25 years, an executive, and you made this transition to starting your own business. And one of the comments you made to me is, Nick, I would have done this earlier, or I should have done this earlier, and I'm having more fun than I've ever had. Tell me about that, your day-to-day. Why are you having more fun than you've ever had?
Well, I love being in the corporate world. I was there for 26 years, and, I climbed the corporate ladder. I led plants for a Fortune 50 company across the country, and they treated me well, and I saved them a lot of money. At the end of my career, I was doing what I'm doing now, but for them. And so, I was saving tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for this company, and it didn't impact my salary. And I'm just thinking, I like a piece of that action. And so, on very good terms, I left. We shook hands. I was working for the vice president at the time of the company, and we left on good terms. And several other sites have continued to be my clients. But it's now I get to do what I've loved doing for one firm Now I can do it for lots of firms.
Mm.
And we branched out into municipalities and doing larger projects. And I love the freedom. I guess on a totally selfish standpoint, I've gotten to a point in my life where I just want to have fun doing what I'm doing. And I'll say no to clients I don't like. Or if I don't think they're gonna have integrity in the way they report their numbers, or I don't like the way that they behave, I just go find other clients. Where in the corporate world, you don't have that opt-out option.
Yeah. I'm curious, the fact that you own your own business, the fact that you get to work with people that you like versus in the corporate world, you have to work with people that maybe you don't like. Has that changed how you approach retirement?
I don't think it's changed how I approach retirement, other than I'm having a lot more fun now. So I'm not like counting the days to retire like I would if I was in a job that I didn't enjoy. I mean, I really feel bad for people that feel like they're stuck in a role that they don't like, and they're literally counting the days until they retire. Because it sounds like they're already retired. They just haven't left yet. I mean, really, that's what it sounds like. And for me, it's like, I know next year's going to be better than this year, and the next year's going to be better. So it's going to be hard for me to step away and retire, because I'll be giving up something I truly love doing. I'm more likely just going to delegate more to other people, or just work on fewer projects.
So if I heard you correctly, you said, Nick, it would be challenging for me to step away from what I'm doing today. Likely what I'll do is I'll work on fewer projects and I'll delegate more.
Yeah, I think
that's right.
Yes.
So from an age perspective, could you see yourself doing what you're doing until you're 70 or 61 today?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my father was always my role model, and he taught me, find something you love. And if you make that your work, you'll never feel like you go to work. My dad always loved wine. And so he left the same Fortune 50 company that I worked for. He left after 25 years, took his love of wine, started a wine distributorship, and spent the next 25 years traveling the world, drinking wine and buying from winemakers, and then selling that wine and distributing it in the States. And I mean, he worked until he was 86. And it was time for him to stop, but he never felt like it was work. Flying around and drinking wine never really felt like work to him.
Yeah.
So he just kept doing it. For me, flying around the world and, embracing energy savings and sustainability improvements, I mean, that's fun for me. So I'll keep doing it as long as it's fun.
Yeah.
And as long as my body lets me travel. I mean, I hit 1 million miles with Delta pretty quickly, and I'm working on the second million now. So, I mean, that's 4 trips to the moon and back. Your body can only handle so much of that, but I'm still enjoying it.
So one of the questions I always like to ask folks, especially my entrepreneurs, my business owners, is what does work provide you outside of money and financial security? Because you said, Nick, if I left work, it would be challenging. And what I'm hearing you say is I like travel. I really, really like the work I do. It sounds like you get a lot of joy out of the impact that you're making for your clients and also for our world. What else, though, am I missing? What are some of the other things that you feel like work provides you outside of money and financial security?
I mean, I love networking and building relationships with other people. I love to take what I've learned and share it with younger folks in terms of mentoring them, so that they can benefit from the mistakes that I've made, as well as some of the successes. We've had several clients, one very recently, where their facility was going to close down, and hundreds of people were going to lose their jobs because they couldn't get their costs right relative to their manufacturing expense. And so by reducing their energy usage significantly, and in that case, we reduced their energy costs more than 50%. Once you do that, you've now made that a very cost-effective facility, and all those people get their jobs. And so the average employee there may never know what we did at that plant, but I go to sleep every night knowing we saved hundreds of jobs. There's a real give back satisfaction to that.
So if you won the lottery tomorrow, would you continue doing what you're doing?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
I mean, if I won even a $50 million lottery, I would keep doing what I'm doing.
And do you need to work today in order to fuel your lifestyle?
I mean, if you're always wanting more, that's a hard question to answer, because stopping at any point means you're not going to continue to grow. So, yeah, I think there's still more out there.
What are some of those bucket list items, or the more that you're thinking about today?
Well, I mean, this may be heresy, especially to anybody who's a financial planner, and mine didn't like hearing this, but they pushed me really hard to save a whole bunch of money, tuck it away, 401ks or in investments, and then you basically never use that money. You just live off of the interest of it for the rest of your life. And I'm thinking, what a waste to put all that money aside and not use it. My model is, through owning your own business, creating enough what I call recurring revenue streams. I take that money and invest it back into my business, generating recurring revenue streams, so I don't have to worry about inflation or interest rates. I've done work once and it just continues to flow available funds back in.
And so your retirement income strategy is the business. It sounds like maybe when you're in your 70s, that's one of the reasons why you would choose to delegate and maybe scale back, but you're still receiving an income from the business. Is that right?
Absolutely. My father taught me, invest in yourself. And it's served me well.
What are some of your hobbies? So you're in your 70s now and you're scaling back, you're delegating. How are you spending your free time?
Yeah, I mean, I have several hobbies that I enjoy. I love music. I play trumpet. I enjoy that thoroughly. I love doing woodworking, creating things out of something that's natural, like a tree. I find it fascinating. And so I love doing woodworking. My wife and I have both been competitive target shooters for a number of years, so I still enjoy that. There's sports shooting organizations. I love sports cars. I've owned several. I have way too much enjoyment from speed, but it's like I enjoy sporting events. I've autocrossed and I've spent time on the track. Things that make me use the other side of my brain than the engineering formal training that I received, I guess.
Yeah, where do you think you would find that mental stimulation if not for your business?
I don't know. I mean, I love to read. I love to be challenged. I love to solve problems. If I didn't get paid to do that in my business, or pay myself to do that in the business, I'd probably find other opportunities to go help solve problems. Maybe not in politics, but something more technical. I love solving problems.
If the business were to go away tomorrow and you were just completely retired at this point, you had all this free time, would that excite you? Would that scare you?
I wouldn't say it would excite me or it would scare me. It would leave me with a lot of time that I'd have to figure out what to do with. Because I invest a lot of my time in the business. It's almost like it would be disappointing, because I've created something on my own and I want to nurture it and for it to grow. It's kind of like, I'm not going to ever stop being a father or a husband. I don't want to stop being a business owner either.
How many hours a week are you working?
Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're all equal. I mean, the family is more important, but it's a component. To be honest, it's a component of who I am and how I view myself.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I'm curious, how many hours a week are you spending in your business today?
Actually, less than I used to. I mean, it's well beyond 40 if you consider the travel. I mean, I travel on weekends, so I don't cut into the business week too much. Traveling the other side of the world, it can take several days to get to the destination. So, if you add in all of the hours, it's probably north of 60.
Okay.
But I don't know any business owner that doesn't work long hours. I mean, when you know that you benefit directly from the time you invest, it's almost like a love affair with your business.
Yeah.
If it's working hard for somebody else to make more money, it's not so much fun.
And so one thing I'm curious about is if you love what you do, right? You're putting in 60 plus hours. Why would you scale back? What makes you think you would need to scale back at a certain point in time?
Either to spend more time with family, or if there are, if I just get to the point where physically I can't spend that much time in airports traveling, or if there's something else, if I had to take care of a family member, that would always be more important to me.
Have there been any triggering events recently that have made you feel like, hey, physically traveling is wearing on me? Or have there been any events with family that's made you think, hey, time is fleeting? And
I wouldn't say it's indicated that time is fleeting, but I mean, in May, which was 6 months ago, my wife and I were in a very serious head-on car collision, and we were both in the hospital for about 4 months, and we're just now starting to be able to even walk again. Now,
wow.
I already started hopping on planes for business. And so, I now use wheelchairs to get to the plane and to the client, but I didn't want that to stop me from traveling. But it did make me appreciate that, our bodies can be fragile, and you got to really work hard to overcome that, but you can't let it stop you. But more realistic about, being able to do this forever.
And so, yeah, tell me about that. How did that change your mindset, pre-car crash to after the car crash?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be a very independent person and very optimistic that, if you work hard and be smart about it, you can accomplish anything. And here I am, all of a sudden I've got clients that want me to be flying around the country, around the world to them. And I can't walk from one side of a room to another. So how am I going to do that? So it caused me to think about, with other people's help, I can do that. I got to swallow my pride. I got to do wheelchair service. I got to let other people travel with me. I would bring someone with me when I travel just to be able to, carry my things. And I wasn't able to, spend 10 hours a day on my feet. But then it became a really interesting way to train and teach other people too. So, I mean, there's some good in that maybe I've been selfish with my knowledge or the things that I do in my work, and it forced me to involve others that I might not have otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to compliment you as a business owner, right? A lot of business owners, you're right, do work in their business 60 plus hours a week, and therefore they're not always developing other hobbies. But for you, you have music, you have woodworking, right? I mean, racing cars. I mean, you have a plethora of hobbies that you could explore as you scale back. When are you scaling back then? And I threw out a number like 10 years earlier in the conversation, but is that a year? Is that 5 years? Is that 10 years that you're looking to scale back?
I think I'm going to work hard for at least another 10 years. I mean, it's just too much a part of who I am. And I find enough time to do the things I love, spend time with the people I love, and still invest heavily in the business. So I feel like I'm at a good balance there. And I'm not pressured to change that right now. If I needed to, I would. But I'm really happy with work, family balance, all that kind of thing right now.
I talked to another business owner recently who did retire, and they own 12 franchise locations of a big company you would recognize. And they had a 5-year plan to unwind their enterprise. And in the 6th year, I said, hey, how did that go for you? And he said, Nick, it was terrible. And he likened it to losing a spouse. Now, he had been married for over 40 years. And he said, it felt exactly like losing a spouse, if I could imagine that. And you mentioned that work today is such a big part of your identity, and that's probably why you would continue to work another 10 years. How would you feel if work just went away tomorrow?
Yeah, I would go create something else. I'd start another business. When I left the corporate world after 26 years, it was remarkably easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of relationships with a lot of people, but those didn't go away. I mean, they've maintained their position in my network. I mean, I continue to stay in touch with them, but the step away from, retiring or leaving, I actually left I didn't wait for retirement in the corporate world. I was too impatient to get on with things. And so I just left. And then this has more than fulfilled anything that I wanted to do. If this business went away, I would go start another business. I love to create and add value and improve other people's lives, and the freedom to be able to do that. I think when I retire, it will either be because my family needs me more, or I'm just at an age where I can't put that many miles on me anymore. And I'm realistic about that.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly interesting. If the business went away today, you'd go out and create something else. It sounds like. How do you define the word retirement?
I don't even know what that means. I mean, in the corporate world, it means you don't show up for work the next day, and you're now living off of a pension or your 401k, and you're worried about the benefits and hope that someone else isn't ever going to change them on you. I mean, in that world where I own my own business, I don't even know what retirement would be. For me, it's how does my life change in the next few years, and I work maybe less clients and less hours in a way that still maintains what I enjoy doing. But it's kind of like if the love I have for my business is the same as the love I have for one of my hobbies, would I ever say I'm just going to stop that hobby in 10 years? No. I mean, if I love woodworking, I'm not going to just say, okay, when I'm 70, I'm going to stop woodworking. Because it's part of what I enjoy. And as a business owner, I get the same wonderful benefit of creating something than I do for my hobbies, where as an employee at another company, I never got that. So retirement makes sense to me in like a corporate world. As a business owner, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you truly love it, which is why I think my father worked until he was 86, because that was what he did. He loved what he did. So why would he stop doing what he loved?
When did your father pass away?
Oh, no, he's still alive.
Oh, he's still alive. Okay.
Yeah,
and how old is your father today?
He's 87.
Oh, wow. So your father's 87 and he just now stepped away from work.
Yeah.
And why did he step away from work if he loved it so much?
I mean, his wife passed away, and part of what he enjoyed, the business that he was in, he had a wine distributorship business. So he spent 9 months a year traveling the world, drinking wine, deciding what he wanted to carry. And then he would tell his sales folks to go buy that wine. And then he'd go spend the other 3 months of the year at a house he had on an island down in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, that was a wonderful life for him that he shared with his wife. And when she passed, I think it just lost some of the fun. And so he just stepped away from the business. But he never felt like he worked. I mean, if you asked him today, he said it was the most fun he ever had was running a business because it was fun every day. And so he taught me the benefit of if you truly love what you do, it's really never going to feel like work. And the other thing he taught me was you delegate the stuff you don't want to do, right? So if you don't like doing the taxes, you don't like doing the bookkeeping, you don't give the fun stuff to someone else. You give them the stuff you don't like. If you like going to vineyards and talking to the winemakers and drinking their wine, that's the part you keep.
Wow. What great advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you
learned that the hard way myself? My wife and I were living in Green Bay at the time, and our daughter was fairly young, and I needed time to just go out and cut the grass. Right. So I would hire a babysitter to come over and help watch our daughter while I would go out and cut the grass. I'm out there sweating my tail off. I'm looking in the window and seeing the babysitter having fun with my daughter. And I'm like, wrong decision. I'm the one that's supposed to be inside having fun. I'll hire someone else to cut the grass.
I love that.
Contracting out the stuff you don't like and keeping for yourself the cream of what you really enjoy.
So my wife and I, we just had a newborn in August, and I'm gonna take that story and go home and tell her, hey, I'm not supposed to cut the grass, right? I'm supposed to play with the baby.
It's not your job to sweep the garage. It's your job to play with your child.
I love that. I love that. Can you tell me a little bit about your father's journey as he's retired now? What's that looked like for him?
Now that he's left the business?
Yeah, like what's the last year looked like? Because he retired at 86, he's 87. Is he enjoying quote unquote retirement? Is he are there things he misses? What are you seeing from the outside looking in?
Well, he's a realist, and I think the things that he always enjoyed, he continues to enjoy. I mean, he still drinks wonderful wines, right? And he still interacts with some of the best chefs that are there. When you're selling wine to some of the best restaurants in the country, you get to know the chefs on a personal level. And so not too long ago, he was out for lunch with my brother, and one of the Michelin chefs from probably the premier restaurant in Cincinnati happened to be there and came over and hugged him and said hi, and they had a nice lunch. So that's what he enjoyed when he had the business. And those relationships have continued after he's left the business. And so I think he kept the best parts. And I think he was at a point where the travel wasn't quite as much fun as it used to be. He did over 2.5 million miles of travel in his career. And I think it's just at some point, you need to find something that doesn't require so much time in airports.
Do you feel like your dad is 87 years old, or what do you think his biological age is? Not his chronological age, but his biological age.
Compared to other people that have, kind of a similar life, I'd say he's probably in his early 60s.
Wow. Do you think the fact that he chose to continue working contributed to his biological age feeling like it's in his early 60s?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you spend 20 years of your life in a job that makes you smile and laugh every day is very different than a stressful job as an employee where you go home and get angry with your spouse and want to kick the dog. I mean, it's a very different type of a work day. And when you do that every day for years and years and years, yeah, I mean, I think it slows down the aging process quite a bit.
Do you worry that your dad's aging process will speed up now that he's retired, or do you think he's kept enough of the good parts to where he'll continue to keep the aging process slow?
Yeah, I think he's kept the good parts.
Yeah, I heard you mention camaraderie. So the Michelin restaurant going and still interacting, he still drinks great wine. He's still laughing and finding joy in every day, it sounds like, despite transitioning from retirement. And he's gotten rid of the things that became a burden, like travel, now that his partner is no longer around, right? The travel's not as fun. It probably felt a little bit more like work.
He takes more walks now. He loves the outdoors. He loves to go through the yard and pick weeds if he sees them. He loves to watch football, and he missed a lot of games, when you're traveling around the world. And so he relishes the things that he's always enjoyed, but now can immerse himself a little bit more into. Yeah. I think it's what I've learned from him is it's one of the real benefits of having your own business and doing something you truly love.
Your father sounds like an incredible man, and he set the bar very high for you. Have you told him that you're going to work until 87 to beat his personal record?
No. He also don't do that. He does remind me that he retired twice, though, because he worked for 28 years at the company that I started working for. And we overlapped for 3 years, but and he'll chuckle when he pours a nice glass of wine and say, I think after 2 retirements, I should get to drink any wine that I like. And I'm like, yeah, you absolutely should.
What's the best bottle of red under $100? Has he shared that secret with you?
Under $100. Depends when you bought it.
That's a good point.
The house that he would keep several thousand bottles in inventory. And the reason is he'd buy the wine when it would be available, knowing it had to lay down for 10 or 15 years before you could drink it. So he would keep, say, a 15-year supply of wine in his personal wine cellar. So he loves Chateauneuf de Pop. He loves Côte de Rhône, Igagal, Côte de Rhône, or Côte de Rôti are 2 of his favorites. To buy some of that now, you're talking far north of $100. But when he bought it, he probably bought it for $15. And so His philosophy is always never think about what it's worth. Just remember what you paid for it. And so he never thinks about he's drinking a $200 bottle of wine. He knows he's never spent more than $20 on one because it's been laying in his cellar for 20 years.
Wow. Wow.
So.
Well, Paul, this has been a really fun and insightful conversation. I do have one last question before we wrap up today.
Sure.
And knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently throughout your career?
Yeah, make the change sooner. Find what your true passion is in life and go for it sooner. I mean, I remember sitting in a management session where we had a consultant come in and he looked around the room. And I mean, it was a room full of executives. We were all successful executives at a very powerful company. And he said, every one of you is here because you're a coward. And I wanted to get up and take a swing at the guy. And he said, no, you've got enough skills. The only reason you're here is you're afraid to go out on your own. And that was a real turning point for me because I took that as an insult. But when I thought about it, it's like, you got somebody else that's kind of being your nanny. We call them your employer, but they're paying your medical bills. They're paying your salary. They're providing you benefits. You're not doing any of that on your own. You signed up to let somebody else take care of you. And that's nice when it goes well, but they now also have control over you. And it's a pretty fearful thing to go out on your own, especially later in life. I mean, when you think about, you start out, you work your way up. And at this point, you're kind of the top of your game at where you're working. On day one at your new company, you need to be able to afford the lifestyle you had at the end of your career in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you started over and built a business. It has to be hitting the ground running so that you can maintain your house payments and take care of your family and put food on the table. And I think it is fear that stops people from doing that.
Well, Paul, that's a fantastic piece of advice and one I've given to other folks over time. And so I'm glad to see that great minds think alike.
Oh, there you go.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. And this was a really special conversation.
Well, thank you. It was nice talking with you. Thanks for the time.
Take care, sir.
Okay, bye.